I'm in Max. You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello, and welcome to season 21, episode, is it really 16?
Yeah.
Looks like it.
16 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
I'm Joey.
Hold on to 16 as long as you can.
Changes coming around real soon, make us.
Wait, I don't want to get. We
Man,
get copyright
man.
infringement here. The whole thing will be canceled.
Don't let it rock!
Oh, hi, Stork. Yeah, me. Here I am.
That's going so well.
In this episode of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast, Heavy Metal Jess writes in about rivals for the player a PC party.
This is the perfect time to use the soundboard. You have like one of those emergency.
Oh yeah, it was an urgent email. So what we were going to talk about for the main topic is going to get pushed to next week.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about this now. Ed from Florida, nay Minnesota, writes in about finding fun. And M from the Twin Cities sends us a horror story and asks for some advice. But first, if you would like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
Blurp.
That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
Blurp.
Or you can find us on the social medias.
Blurp.
We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, happyjacksrpg, all one word. happyjacksrpg, all one word. Watch the show live on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific time. We record the show live. Go to happyjacks.org/live, and you will find all the shit there to watch what we do here.
Yes.
We're all okay here.
We're fine.
We're fine.
How are you?
It's fine. Yeah.
All right. There's anything anyone want to talk about, plugging anything or anything like that going on that we need to know?
Do you want to talk about Fair and Bogfest?
Oh yeah, tomorrow. If you're listening tonight, by the time this episode comes out, although I might try to get it posted tonight.
Do the thing.
This is a rough weekend to try to get something posted after tonight. Tomorrow, this is the third weekend of the Renaissance Pleasure Fair in Irwindale, California, so you can come and see us there. And also tomorrow night at Callahan's Irish Pub, which is right across the street from the fair site in beautiful downtown Irwindale, Bogfest 2018. This will be like Bogfest 25 or 26 at this point. I don't remember how many we've had so far.
It's literally. I think you guys did 1 year without me, and then or 2 years. Maybe you did one year.
Well, we did a Bogfest
and
that
then
year.
You did a Bogfest that year, yeah. So
the
Boggart.
only Bogfest we didn't do was the year we were fired.
Right.
And I think we've been around 25 or 26 years. Maybe it's 26, so that we've done 25 Bogfests, maybe? Who knows?
That sounds about right.
So that show will start sometime around 8 p.m. Pacific time. Traffic coming out of the fair is going to be terrible, so we're going to wait and allow at least the band members to show up so we have a full band by the time we
appreciate
start.
that.
Yeah.
And often we will wait until there is an audience, too, because some of them are stuck. Because last year I had everything set up, and at like 7:45, the place was maybe half full.
Yeah.
Right.
My first year, I got stuck because someone tried to go up the rock
Right.
quarry, and so there's a ton of traffic. So I almost had to crowd surf from the back of the
They
house.
tried to drive up it?
Yeah, someone tried to drive up it and got
Must have been
stuck.
really drunk.
Douchebaggery.
Oh, it was awful. But I remember
I got a
I
four-wheel
almost had to
drive.
crowd surf over the crowd. They were one of the last guys in the band to get there. It was
Nice.
insane. It was
Yeah.
absolutely insane.
That's a good first Bogfest.
Oh, it was
I
amazing.
think they also closed the park. Like for some reason, the maybe because the guy tried to drive up the thing, they
Could be.
closed everything down. So that
Oh, there was an accident, wasn't it? I thought it was an accident.
Well, because
I think that was the accident.
that was the accident.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So,
Oh,
yeah.
to sweeten the deal, and I'm going to spin this in our favor.
Oh, yeah. Where's it? Do you have one there?
No, to sweeten the deal. Oh yeah, well
Yeah,
there's
throw
this.
one of those.
But more than that, I was going to say Steam Powered Giraffe is actually playing. So if you want to go see them, and then come see Bogfest afterwards, because we are releasing our brand new album.
Ooh.
Here, Kimmy can hold it up to you.
It is called Atlas Chugged.
It's
And it
very
has,
literary. Well,
Yeah.
you know.
And Stork did part of the covers. That's pretty awesome.
I believe that I played a song from that last week for the We'll Leave You With a Song.
I know you
Awesome.
did.
So, and where can they get this? It's going to be on iTunes, right?
Eventually, yeah. That won't happen until after Fair's over.
Well, yeah, but
Right now, if you want to get it, you got to come to Fair.
yeah.
Sorry.
But if you don't come to Fair, it will eventually be on iTunes.
Yes, it will be on iTunes and all of those other places sometime after Fair. I'm hearing a buzz, and that's bugging the
That's
shit
me.
out of me.
That's me.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Is it you?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
No,
Why
it's
would
gone now. Kind of. All right. So anyway,
Everybody's very still.
Right.
semi-urgent topic: building a rival group.
Okay.
But which this got upgraded to a urgent topic. Dear Jackholes. Oh, this is from Heavy Metal Jazz.
Yes.
I haven't written in for a while because I've been on a break from running games. During that time, I had hoped to play in a few games, but it just never worked out.
Oh.
Excuse me. Now I'm back to running my homebrew setting in D&D 5th edition. I've been loving the simplicity and having engaging players who are almost all new to the system.
Nice. That's awesome.
A few are new to tabletop role-playing as well. I got backstories from everyone. #blessed. I'm running the Adventuring Guild trope in this game and need your advice. The player characters have just arrived at the guild, which is new in the game world. It's only been operating for a few months. Right now, it's a small village with 3 groups, quote-unquote, of students that get sent out to deal with newly arrived magical beasts appearing in the game world, explore newly discovered ancient ruins, and to procure items related to ancient gods for a nearby clerical monastery established by an older group of PCs. I like continuity. I do too. So part of the training facility, it's part training facility, part archaeological club, part Night's Watch. Got it.
Okay.
Cool. I like the setup.
Yeah, I dig it.
I'm in the midst of doing the prep work for the other 3 groups and would like to build one of them as a clear rival. The Bone Hunters are the mean cool kids who dislike everyone else. What I'd like to hear from the hosts is how you would go about building these rivals. Should I keep them always at the same level as the PCs? How do I involve them in the story without them taking too much spotlight time? How mean do I let them be without making my players feel like I'm picking on them? I want the players to be competitive with them and maybe hate them.
Oh.
But I also don't want them to be cooler than the PCs. I just want them to think that they're cooler. I'm using Slack to supplement table time and was thinking of having some of the members interact with the PCs one-on-one in play-by-post during the week. Any ideas on how to run such a thing? I hear y'all talk about using Slack and was curious what success you've had. I have players who have done play-by-post in the past, but I'm having a hard time engaging them. Thanks in advance. Heavy Metal Jess. P.S. Someone on Discord recommended Alaskan Amber as a great non-IPA, and I have to sing its praises. It's a solid, drinkable beer for all occasions. Now the customary drink!
Drink.
Alaskan
Sponsor.
Amber.
Yes,
I think
sir.
I may have dated her, or at least saw her show.
I thought that was a kind of hash. Oh, happy 420.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk. But before we go on to the play-by-post engagement, let's talk about building a rival and how can you get the players invested in a rivalry? Obviously, these are NPCs, so it's like they're an adventure. They're part of the Adventurers Guild, and they were sent out as a unit. And there's that other unit over there that she wants to build up a rivalry. What are some ways in the past, maybe in games, that you have found yourself having rivalries?
I think my
How do they come about?
My favorite rivalry I've ever had was in a Star Wars campaign where I was playing an up-and-coming Jedi fighting against an Imperial officer. It was basically kind of almost doing the Avatar Zuko relationship where he was trying to find me, and it was his mission to find me. And one of my favorite moments of that entire game was realizing that if circumstances were different and we were on the same side, we would be best friends. Our ideologies and our way of working with people is so similar, but we're on two completely opposite sides of this war and fervently believe in our own side.
Right.
So we literally, at one point at the table, me and the DM had like a 20-minute argument over the validity of the rebellion before we even drew weapons and started attacking each other. But in character, had this debate. It was amazing.
Not only am I going to fight you, I'm going to prove you wrong first.
Oh, exactly. Oh, it was great. So whenever I think
won?
of rivals, I won.
Oh, okay.
I later on in the campaign ended up using the Force and threw him into a shield generator.
Like you do.
Right, like it was that or him kill me. It's fine. But that's always kind of now been the yardstick that I measure all rivalries for in games is that's a great place to start. Is have them, if things were different, they would be the same person, or they would be best friends, or they would be lovers, or they would be have it be that really close connection, but they're divided for some reason. Have that reason be the campaign.
It's very funny you mentioned that, because I built a game called Big Blue Monkeys in Outer Space, and I had 6 player characters. There was a British captain, there was an American captain, and then there was the first mate of the American, and then the mechanic, and then there was the ship's doctor who was British, and then there was the sort of psychic special ops person who was also British. So the table split 3-3. I took the exact same character sheet and I switched 2 skills. I said, okay, this guy's going to be better at the sword. This guy's going to be better at his blaster. That's it. They're the same character. So whenever, and now this is a little different because this was 2 player characters.
Right.
And one of the things on their character sheet was, you have a rivalry with this guy.
Yeah.
Right? And they of course,
that was boiled into the actual generation.
yes.
of characters.
And every adventure is them, right in the very beginning is some reason why they have to be working together again.
We actually did an AP of it recently.
Yeah, we did. And the funny thing is, they both know that they have rivalries, and everyone who's played those characters has played that up pretty well. But the fact that they have the exact same skill set at the same levels means, like, oh, someone needs to bound across, swing across this rope to the other ship. Oh, I can do that, and I can do it too, and so that every time there was anything to do, there was always competition between the 2 of them because their characters were freaking identical,
That's how you build it.
except for sword fighting and shooting. That was the only thing.
That's how you build it. Right there, Jess. That's how you do it. You basically take the people's characters and then you make their doppelgangers.
I don't know, though. I think part of me thinks, I mean, like myself as a player, like I put a lot of time into making my PC unique.
Sure.
Like, I might be a little pissed off if suddenly the GM's like, oh, look, there's someone just exactly the same.
But isn't that the point?
He may not necessarily know they're the same.
Right.
'Cause
I mean,
I'll tell you,
yeah.
most players who've played it did not notice that their character sheets were identical
Yeah,
except
nobody's
for one
comparing
skill.
stats, yeah.
No.
Right. I mean, you'd have to find a way to go about it where it's not exactly the same. Like, if as a PC, if I were playing and then I suddenly was like, okay, they just took my character and copied it and renamed it, like, I'd be like,
Oh, look, it's Bizarro me.
But
Yeah.
would you know that?
I don't know.
If the GM
It totally depends on
literally
the
took your
system.
character
Yeah.
sheet and
Yeah.
was sitting there with it and was like, oh no, you didn't hit.
I mean, you might not know. I mean,
Right.
it depends on the GM style. Because
Right.
sometimes people are like, oh, I've got, it depends on how vocal you are with the measurements and the mechanics.
Right.
Because some people are like, oh, +2, okay. And you're like, how do I have a +2 in that? Like, after a while, like, you might figure it out.
Maybe.
And it might work for one player in the party.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can do a full party.
No.
No,
Okay.
I wouldn't.
I disagree. I think that's what you do is you go through your party and you make a functional party and you go through the player's party and you make pretty much their doppelgangers. Like you say, change a couple of skills around. People aren't going to know, and then you change their build and the way they look and the way they sound.
Give them slightly different personalities.
No one's going to guess or know.
They may
And
not- they may
then
not.
to your other question, yeah, I keep them level with the characters. I'm thinking of great rivals from movies, right? And the one that comes to mind specifically is Belloc from the Raiders of the Lost Ark. And he even says, you and I are not very different.
Right.
I would almost.
He was an archaeologist that
Yeah.
also was gathering. Well,
I would almost
Looter.
make. I think I would make the rivals. If you're just starting out, like you're starting with like a first or third level game, and you're going to be advancing at a reasonable pace, I would actually start. I think I would start the rivals maybe a level higher.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just so right up front, but don't advance them.
Yeah, don't
You know,
advance.
let them
Absolutely.
stay. So like if the party's at 3, put the rivals at 5. It depends how long you want this to play out.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think you should advance. I mean, going to a weird place, but if you go to Pokemon, for example, and you have your rival in every game, there's that person that you're constantly fighting every once in a while. They're always a little bit higher level than you because you want that challenge. When you come across that rival, you want to sweat it out. You want to be like, have to use every resource you have
Right.
to overcome them.
To
Then
earn it.
the rivalry is worth it. So, I mean, going back to the Star Wars example, the reason I had to throw him into the shield generator was he was a lot higher level than me, and I was attacking him for like round after round after round, and I could not land an attack at all. But he was like knocking my HP down like crazy, so I had to find another way to defeat him.
Right.
So I think to up the drama, make them a higher level,
Okay.
and make the PCs have to find another way of circumventing them.
They can't just outpower them; they have to outsmart them.
Exactly.
And they're not. We're not
Or-
talking about. They're not going to come into a pitched battle.
No, but they might.
Yeah,
That's
they
possible.
can.
It could like a barroom brawl or something like
Yeah.
that. But they'd probably get in trouble with their organization if they actually started killing each other.
Right. Well, the other option too, you could actually flip that on its head and have the PC be a higher level, but have the rival have more resources. Because going back to like Indiana Jones,
Right, with Belloc. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
like him and Indy in a fight, like no, like Indy's gonna win.
Right.
But he's got like the big corporations. He's hired all the people to do the digging for him while he sits
Right.
in the shade. Like he's got all
Well,
this
he's got
stuff.
that sweet, sweet Nazi money.
Yeah, exactly. So
And
like, if
maybe
you
he's
have
a bit more
something like that-
charismatic, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And-
So
and he's French.
Yeah, so they actually, while their interests are sort of similar, they are actually very different characters, especially in the way they approach things.
Well, I would say that, using Stu's analogy, he switched acrobatics with charisma. So Belloc is a very charismatic kind of guy, is able to get his way through sweet talking and conning, whereas Indy just brute forces his way through.
Right, but that's very different than switching two martial
Right.
skills with each other. Like switching sword fighting and blasters is very different than switching like very big personality.
Yeah, because
points.
that's almost like L5R, Courtier, and Bushi.
exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
Still,
So
it's not wrong.
no. But I'm saying like that's a big switch, but that can also give them an advantage because then if they do get in a fight, the PCs are probably going to win.
Right.
But there's still that rivalry, and there's a little bit more resentment there. Like, God dang it, they've got the nice stuff all the time. We're
that's like-
camping in the dark, and he's got the hotel.
It's like when Malfoy joins the Quidditch team.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, totally. Stuff like that, and that kind of builds up that resentment because it's like, well, I'm just as good as them, and I'm the scrappy one. Damn it, I'm working hard.
Right.
And it's like,
I think a good tool would just be look at kind of what Sork was saying, all the famous rivals in books and movies, in video games, and what made those rivalries great. You know, because also you have different kinds of rivals. You have like Malfoy and Harry. You have Belloc and Indiana Jones. If you want something a little more zany, you have like not going back to Pokemon, Ash and Team Rocket. Like that's a rivalry.
Right.
yeah.
And you know they kind of like come in and out, and that's something they deal with every once in a while. So you have
And always
have
make your
options.
rivals have introduce themselves with rhymes.
Can never go wrong.
A good rival kind of develops. I mean,
Yeah.
Bill did a great job in his Star Wars games with Kier Starfall, and Kier just kept having to be there. And it's like there's a ship taking off, and I think I
He
started.
didn't
it
even
when I
start
said-
out as a rival.
No.
we made him an enemy.
Made him an enemy. Exactly. And I'm like, tell me that isn't Kier Starfall's ship, and Bill's eyes got that twinkly look, and I'm like, oh shit, I just gave him. And he goes, it's the Idiot's Array. They're like, ah! And now all of a sudden we're all after him. Yeah. It's that simple. It's that little twist. But you have to be careful, I think. Here's the other side of it, which is they can't always show up. They can't always be there. They can't always be one step ahead. It's nice once or twice, but you got to let your players win now and again. You got to let your players, you know, like Indy gets the statue and is running, and then
And
you
it
got to
ma-
be careful with this rival thing.
And some of the rival stuff can totally happen off camera. It could be, okay, we're sending you guys over here to pick up the third key of Ventuzler, and you guys are going to go get the fifth key of Ventuzler.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you guys, we fought all the undead stuff, and we came back. We got the key, and we come back. And they've been back for 4 days.
Yeah.
And they're, like, getting fat. And
It could
Massages.
it could even be
Palm
that
fronds.
you show up in the town and they've rented out all the available rooms.
right.
Right? It's little things like that, you know?
I think one thing.
Or renting them out and then subletting them to the place. No, I rented all the rooms, but if you want one, they're only like $3 a night.
Yeah.
That's okay, right?
There's one by the boiler that we can totally lend you for much cheaper.
It's a small
than
little
normal.
hamlet, and you know they're going to show up and go raid this dungeon, and all of a sudden this group has already rented out the place. They've been there a day ahead of time. They're like, "Argh!"
Exactly.
And they're in the rain, camping in the stables, going, I hate those guys.
And there can also be a plot hook later, like how are they always a day ahead of us?
Yeah.
Right.
So there's all that stuff. And that brings up another thing, which
Maybe
is
there's a nefarious reason why.
or have it
Maybe
connected.
there's a mole in the party.
Have it connected with the backstories. I was thinking family members. You know, there's the stepbrother, the brother, the sister, the father who doesn't want
Yeah.
you to succeed. All of that stuff is really interesting. This whole idea about a rival brings
The
up
plucky X.
so many new things you can
Is
do.
it the Plucky X?
Right.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's really great to do too is use other NPCs to kind of feed into the narrative and feed into like the legend of those other things, and because that can build frustration. Like one of the things that it's not NPCs, but in our Interpol X game, like my character was actually a magic user. And I was usually good at it when I didn't roll like shit, but I kept rolling kind of like shit. It was like a campaign theme. And then Jason's character was not a magic user, but he thought he was, so he'd try and roll magic, and he
couldn't
nailed
lose.
it.
Could not fail.
All
Couldn't fail.
the fucking time. So he was like, his character was a female, but he's like, I'm a wizard. And my character's like, no, you're not a wizard. You're not. I'm the wizard, damn it. And it just became this big thing where this rivalry built up that was not based on actual mechanics, but was based on kind of like everyone else thought that they were super good at magic. So like all the people in a town are like, oh, he's the best paladin that's ever lived, and it's all based on fake stories and stuff like that. Yeah, your PC who actually is a great paladin is like, no, they're not. They're not a great paladin, and that can like help build that up too, in a less like stressful way than in like a more lighthearted way. If you're interested in doing that too,
Yeah.
and that can be the way you introduce those other characters. It's like, oh, did you hear the great paladin? Blah blah blah, and then he walks in and it's a paladin, like Stork was saying in the backstory. I went to temple with him. He was a total jerk. He was.
That guy's a douchebag.
Yeah, he was hiding when every time we did drills. He never
Right,
did anything.
right.
And he managed to find a dead dragon at one point and dragged its carcass into town and pretended like he killed it, and
Right.
he became like this hero. So like using other NPCs to build up or take down or whatever those characters can be a really great tool to use too.
If you're doing the whole Adventure League thing too, apparently they're being bankrolled by another corporation to do the same thing you're doing, and so there's that meta rivalry going on between the corporations as well. I'm thinking of comic books with was it Maxwell Lord and Booster Gold, and how he's basically bankrolled this superhero, and he's trying to get his money's worth.
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
early on. He's kind of this duplicitous con man, businessman. It's a very, and his role has changed recently, but he basically started out as sort of this manager for this superhero. It's like, I got a superhero here. He can do stuff. Hey,
Well,
how
he
much
bankrolled
is it worth
a whole
to you?
team. Like
Yeah.
he bankrolled.
Yeah.
God, what is his name? I have that whole series. I don't remember, but they have some super cheesy superhero team name they were going to be like the opposite of the Justice League, and so they had this fancy building, and they were all kind of like the Justice League B team, and they left the Justice League. So that's a great thing too. Is like have like their teammate. Oh no, we're going to be in your team. Oh, they're paying us more. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. See you guys. Like the people they were helping, like their tavern,
Right.
like barkeep who was feeding them information. Oh, I'm sorry, they're paying me more money now. I can't give you information anymore. Like those little things too.
It's a really fun thing that you're setting up here. Again, I just need you to be aware to be careful, because using that rivalry, if they're always there pissing them off, your players are not. Remember, you got to be your players' fans, and you got to let them win.
Yeah.
Occasionally, and you got to let them dig their own holes. I think that the rivals showing up once or twice, and then just let the players. At some point, they're going to light an inn on fire, trying to track these people down. They're going to and they're going to spend more time trying to intercept these rivals than they are actually going to taking your plot hooks, which is great, which you can build off of. But be careful that the rivals aren't, that you're not metagaming as a GM, because I used to do this all the time. Well, they would do this, and they're leveling with you, and they would know this, and they would know this, because the people that are bankrolling them know this too. And so you got to be careful, because they will always be ahead of the players, and that's frustrating as a player.
I just thought of something. The other thing that I have found that the party absolutely detests is when they know for a fact someone is a shithead. But around all of the authority figures, they're model citizens. Because it's like, because now the party has special knowledge, and parties like having special knowledge. It's like, okay, we know that these guys are fuckwads, but no one else does, and everyone else is falling for their horse shit.
Yeah.
And that will help drive that rivalry too.
Oh,
that will
absolutely.
actually drive that level of hatred that you're talking about, where it's like, no, we're not just going to kill them.
Yeah.
We want to ruin them.
Yes, exactly. And that's important. If this is the hook that you're setting, if you're going to set a couple of these hooks, once that's fish on, follow that and let them do what they're going to do and let them win, because that's the fun part. And then they're going to realize, oh my God, we defeated them. We never did succeed in the mission, did we? But we killed them.
Right.
And they're going to have more fun doing that. Trust me, you're going to fish on, and it'll be 6 or 7 months of reeling them in.
Play by post got I have members interact with PCs one-on-one in the play-by-post, blah, blah, blah. Just curious if you had any success. I had players who have done play-by-post in their past, but have a hard time engaging them.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me with this because play-by-post is not something that grabs me.
No.
I mean, I used to do play-by-post before there was, like, chat and stuff like that, like, back in the day. But even then, like, as soon as I had, like, that real-time interaction, that kind of took over.
Yeah.
For me, generally, I try to keep it role-play light, and it's more about, okay, because you're doing it over Slack, or you're doing it over email, or chat, or text, or whatever. It's like, so you meet this guy, and, this is what he says, blah, 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 blah. This is kind of what he looks like, and this is sort of the demeanor that you're picking up. And just... I mean, if they're engaged with it, they engage with it. That's a bonus. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah, don't force it.
But I think it'll be, the fact you're doing it one-on-one is going to make it easier. I did a play-by-post 5e game, and it just got to the point where I'd see the post, but I'm at work, I can't reply. And I'm like, oh, this is what I want to do, and I totally solved that puzzle. On my lunch break, it's, like, gone. Like, we were already past it. Like, so my character did nothing for, like, the last 2 days, apparently.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think she's talking about one-on-one.
Yeah, one-on-one, awesome. Also, nice thing about one-on-one, if you're doing, like, RP stuff, is you now have written record of it. Just make sure you save it, like, copy into a Word doc or whatever. But, yeah, that's great having just that reference point. Because sometimes you say things like, oh, that was really cool. I have no idea what that was.
Yeah. One of the ways that works better for me is if it's, like in-character writing. Like, if, like, oh, you get a letter from... Okay, going back to my story about, like, the paladin who... There's a douchebag paladin. They're frustrated. Maybe, they're writing with, the master from the temple that they studied at.
Right.
So you get a letter from them, and you write a letter back. And that's the kind of play-by-post I can kind of get into.
Sure.
Because it's, like, makes sense. Like you were saying with, like, there's, like, a pause. And that's a great way to introduce information... and to kind of build that frustration about the rival.
Especially if they're communicating with NPCs that are very remote to where the party is at the moment, maybe all of their communications with them take place in a play-by-post away from the table, and it never...
Yeah.
And Slack can be a great tool for that. I actually really love Slack a lot. It's a really powerful tool, and it's really, really useful. And it's a great way because you can instant message anybody.
Right.
You can also group post, set up different channels that people have access to. It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Snooze notifications.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you can set timers.
I think the only thing that's really good for play-by-post these days is a chess game. But back in the day when you and I...
Diplomacy. Yeah.
Diplomacy.
Okay.
It's
All right.
fantastic. Diplomacy, play-by-post.
But again, it's still about moves.
That's interesting.
It is.
I think...
It's all negotiation. So it's letters back and forth to see who will work with you and who won't.
Do you think you could... I mean, I haven't played Diplomacy, but could you use the mechanics for Diplomacy to organize a play-by-post for another game in another system? Would that be crazy?
That would be crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that Slack could be very useful for, like you say, sending letters, sending notes, having players interact with the barkeep or something one-on-one if they want to do secrets and stuff out of character. But keep it at that. Don't try to make anything that's really game-related. You can flesh out moments. You can flesh out some character stuff, but I wouldn't save big moments for the game because otherwise other players are going to feel cheated. Like if you're like Joey and you work your ass off, you're like, I didn't get any info. What?
And the other thing, if
Not
you
that
do,
you sound like that.
if you do have
You
some
ever
sort
heard
of,
me
if you do have a play-by-post opportunity for all of the players, offer them an XP bonus if they do it.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Give an extra, I don't
XP
know,
is always a
20 or
great
30
carrot.
XP. They play in D&D. They have XP.
Yeah.
They know what XP is, even if they're new.
Yeah. And for everyone who is waiting for me to remember it, the Conglomerate was the name of Booster Gold's sponsored company by Maxwell Lord, which included like an oil company, and I know LexCorp actually sponsored it too. They were,
Of course they did.
Back in the day when he first started out, back in the 80s.
Is that a sports ball reference?
Sports ball? Yeah.
Wait, which one? Shooty hoops, batty hoops, pucky hoops?
Back in the day
Curling.
when he first started, he was just basically a corporate sponsored superhero, very much in the vein of Mystery Men, with was it Captain Awesome, Captain
Amazing.
Well,
Captain Amazing,
he'd
yeah.
showed up. Well, he'd stolen his suit.
Greg
from the
Kinnear.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah, and time travel back so he could be a cool superhero, and then he just fails always.
Yeah.
My favorite.
This is not.
It's very much in that kind of vein. So the original. Booster
We're the
Gold sort
super
of idea.
duper team.
And
We're
it-
definitely not the super duper team.
All right.
I want to watch that movie again.
It's so good.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
it
it
has
is.
some moments.
It's fun.
fun.
It's a fun movie. Thank you.
Yes.
I can only turn invisible when no one's looking at me.
That's genius.
That is amazing.
And the puns are worth
And
it, too.
absolutely something that would happen at this table. I'm just saying.
Well, and when you watch it again after playing Vampire, you're like, that's a total thing. That is 100% a mechanical thing.
Right.
And I
There
love
are
the
people who
puns in
can
it.
only turn invisible when nobody's looking at them.
And the throwaway things that in there that come around, it's a blame thrower. And you're like, oh, that's hilarious, haha. And then it actually comes to work.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a blame
That's
thrower.
awesome. I love that.
I only make non-lethal instruments. It's a blame
Do I have him? Do I have him on here?
I don't know. Do you have it on the soundboard?
Tom Waits? God, I love Tom
Not
Waits.
Tom Waits. No. I know he's not on here. But I might have. Where is it? Do I have him?
Wah, wah.
Fail.
That's not it.
Oh, come on.
See,
Is
the
he not on
soundboard
here?
is such a great idea.
Oh.
Well, while you're doing that, I will look. I will start the next email. Yes, I
Do
hope
you want
that
to talk
helps.
about games?
Oh, yeah.
Did anybody play anything?
Yeah, I played Spanier's Ghost on Wednesday.
Nice.
It was lovely. Always a good time.
Yes.
Gina's character had some wonderful moments. Big story arcing moments, which were fun. We had a very cinematic battle,
Oh, nice.
which was always fun because we don't battle a lot in that game. So it's always, for someone who's new to the Savage World system in general, it's like, how does this work again?
Yeah.
I'm adding what now? I'm not adding now? Like, what am I doing? So thank you for sitting through that.
Have
'cause
you
that
had
shit
like
was fun.
ship-to-ship combat?
We've had a couple.
Okay.
It's mostly been that, actually. We've only had a couple, like, on-land fights. But this was, like, ship-to-ship combat in the middle of a hurricane. Like,
Nice.
like climactic moment of, like, at World's End kind of shit. Like, it was
Oh.
awesome.
That's fabulous.
awesome. Totally worth it. Totally amazing.
Did you find it there, Stu?
You ready?
All right.
Real quick.
Sure.
You dress in the manner of a male prostitute.
You dress in the manner of a male prostitute.
Is that the Blue Raja?
No, that's the Sphinx.
the Sphinx.
He's terribly. What is it? Terribly mysterious.
Yeah.
I'm the Blue Raja.
Yeah.
I'm an effete British superhero. Mum.
Well, we've been saving these. So,
Stabby man. I'm the Blue Raja.
so how's the Spaniards Ghost going? I mean, you guys are like,
We're getting close.
yeah.
We're getting close. Or so we think. All the signs point to yes. So we'll see next session if we actually get to where we think we're going.
No, I watched part of it the other day. It went on long and I had to go to bed. But there's a lot of cool things happening.
Yeah, it's a
You
really-
guys are really solidifying your characters. The system is working itself out with all of you guys. You ever played Savage Worlds?
No,
before
it's my
this?
first Savage Worlds game.
So I love the system.
Oh, it's
but
great.
It does get kind of crunchy sometimes. All right, you're gathering up dice and you're rolling, and there's a whole,
Yeah.
especially with Jib, there's a lot of making sure that everything goes right.
But one thing I love that he's doing, and I don't know if this is Savage Worlds in general or Spanish Go or
Spanish Ghost.
Spaniard or Spanish Main specific, but in dramatic tasks, when we each take a turn, he always asks a question about our characters, which is really cool because I love building character backgrounds
Yeah.
and backstory. That
Is that dramatic tasks or interludes?
dramatic tasks.
Oh, really?
Like, as we're going around-
that's the interlude mechanic in the base rules. I don't know about Spanish. Man.
Because he'll dramatic tasks make a roll. Like, okay, great. So that was your roll. So tell me about your character's greatest accomplishment. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, okay. So like getting to pull stuff from my backstory that I've written out that may not get to come out in the normal game.
Right.
Is
Otherwise.
really fun and cool and interesting. So that's always been fun.
He's kind. It sounds like he's kind of, unless it's part of Spanish Main, it might be. I don't know.
I don't remember
It sounds
making
like
the
he's
rules.
almost kind of blending that
Yeah.
with the interludes, because the interlude thing was like in between scenes. There's actually a game mechanic where someone pulls a card and then. Like you're sitting around the campfire, or you're sitting in jump space, waiting to get to the next star system or whatever, and one of the player characters tells a story about their past to the
Yeah,
other
that's very
characters.
much it. So I bet that is what he's doing. But it's great. It's
fantastic
absolutely
mechanic.
awesome.
It's awesome.
I'm loving it.
Cool.
Go ahead.
And we are playing Demigods on Sundays.
Yes.
Which is so cool and so much fun.
You guys are going to be in trouble at work because I'm laughing out loud.
Oh my God.
Like crying, laughing.
Oh my God, we're so dirty in that
It's
game.
amazing.
Oh my God, we were like so obsessed with junk in the last episode.
Yeah, you
I
were.
just listened to
Like-
episode
Yeah, you were.
today.
It was.
I was crying. I was laughing so
It was the
hard.
phallic episode.
Yeah,
The entire-
it started with divine crabs and just went downhill from that, and it was pretty amazing.
Oh, it
Super
was
fun.
so good.
Yeah, so it's really fun to that's the first campaign of that system. So it's been really neat to kind of see because like Jason's done a bunch of one-shots to see, okay, how are these mechanics that worked well for one-shots now, how are they translating to a campaign? Because that can be very different.
Oh, yeah.
So it's really neat to be like, okay, well, a couple of us got way too many, like, threads, or, wait, no, not threads.
Yeah, threads.
Yeah, okay. Like in Powered by the Apocalypse, there's like, each different system, each hack calls it a different thing. Sometimes it's basically XP boxes, and when you get 5 of them, that's when you get to choose another stat or something like that. You get to go up. So it's kind of interesting, like seeing that where it finally matters. Like, because usually in a one shot you don't really give a shit about that. You're like, yeah, we'll be done. And then, but this time, like really seeing if it's all balanced between the characters and stuff like that. And he's like actively rewriting it sometimes between sessions a little bit. So we like, oh, we have a new thing. Okay, good. So that's been really neat just to kind of see that process, because I've seen you go through that process with Moment of Truth.
Right.
So seeing that, like, someone else kind of going through that process with a completely different type of system has been really interesting and really.
And to be fair, I've never seen a Powered by the Apocalypse. I don't think I've seen one run as a campaign. I don't think because I've played a couple of one shots. I've watched some one shots, but I've never seen the long arc of it. And Powered by the Apocalypse always seems like it works really well when you start.
Yeah.
I don't. How do you?
Our Interpol X game worked really well.
Okay, well that's right. That was you're right. That was Powered by the Apocalypse. Okay. I stand corrected.
It's okay. Maybe you didn't watch it. That's okay.
No, I did.
Yeah. So that one was Monster of the Week, which was kind of like in the X-Files, Buffy type. Like, it's really based on Supernatural, but we kind of went a little more X-Files with it. It's interesting. It works really well, and the couple campaigns I've done with it, those are the only 2 I've done on stream. I find and Masks, duh. And
I actually never watched it.
Oh yeah, Jib's Masks game was amazing, and that was so great. I really love how it's just such a simple way to level up your character, and you get to pick. There's so much freedom in what you get to pick. And one of the coolest things you can do is when you get to a certain point, you can choose powers and abilities and stuff from other books. So if you're creating a superhero in Masks, or if you're, and for demigods or whatever, if you're like, hey, I'm a trickster, if there's a power that seems like would really match my my trickster god, oh, I think I'm going to pull that. And
totally need invisibility.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, oh, the arcane is the one who can cast, magic. But it seems like after I practice for a while, I should totally be good at that too, right? So yoink, I'm going to take that, whatever that is. So it's a really neat system for leveling up. I really enjoy it.
I'm excited to see how you stress test that, because that's the one thing he hasn't done yet, and it is a robust game. He's got all the concepts are all there, they're all ready to go, and it's a matter of just sort of fine tuning so that you guys don't find way too many loopholes that you can jump through.
Yeah, like you're saying, we're stress testing it.
Is he's sewing up the loopholes?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's a good system, and he's done a lot of work on it, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it's a neat concept.
It is. It's such a cool concept.
I got the guy who laid out the Bill Star Wars Traveler thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He laid out Moment of Truth for me.
Nice.
I just got it back today. It's beautiful.
Absolutely Titanic.
I don't remember.
He's so good.
Yeah.
That is so.
He throws stuff in and.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Oh, he redid the character sheet.
Remarkable.
The character sheet.
So, what's next for it then?
For the game, I think that the setting that I'm going to push to finish before the end of the year is going to be Vast Dominions.
Okay.
Because that's the one I think I have the most finished on.
Okay.
I think. I think there's more interest in Bloodblade and Tusk, though. I'm not sure.
It seems that way, just from my conversations with different people.
Right.
I don't know if it's because people have already seen Vast Dominions in action for longer, because we did a campaign.
It was a longer game, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe people are like, hey, I've kind of seen that, it may be I want to see something different.
Right.
But, so I don't know what would be more interest for people who are actually interested in buying.
If we're going to talk about that, I think Vast Dominions is great right at the outset, because it makes a great one-shot, especially with the characters all being basically rivals and everything all set up. So it's a great thing to include with your package. But Bloodblade and Tusk makes a great setting for a long-play campaign, which is something you can put out later.
And there's I bought 2 or 3 books about medieval society and the fall of the Holy Roman Empire.
Shocked that you're doing research.
And all kinds of stuff. So because I kind of want to, when I do it, I kind of want to do it right.
Yeah. Totally.
And it makes sense. It also might.
Vast Dominions, that's just all coming out my ass.
Right. Because it's makeup anyway.
Yeah.
And you know enough about that period of time to have enough historical fact with flying giant ships.
Exactly.
In space, where space is
it's
down.
It's not that different than what it was. basically you're just putting off World War One,
Right.
and the world is just as crazy and gung ho about war prior to World War One as it's always been.
Yeah.
So
Except in space.
except it's in space.
Yeah.
It's back to the Age of Sail.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the Age of Sail with better guns.
Yeah. I mean, and it might be better. I mean, there are a ton of kind of like fantasy settings out there. It might be good to come out with something that's not in that vein and then add that as like an option later. I don't know.
It'd be very cool if Bloodblade
Just as far as
Tusk is
marketing.
like the precursor to
Oh yeah.
Vast
Dominions. It's like
What happened to all the
4,000
orcs?
years later. I don't know. Well, why does
Let's
Play
play
and
and find
find
out.
out.
Why do we
Actually,
have flagships?
there's a someone is actually working on a setting that is a continuation of Bloodblade and Dusk.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's cool.
So
Zanzamode says you need to make a samurai setting.
I was thinking about that too. I was thinking about making a.
This is all stuff later.
Yes.
We have emails to read.
Do we? Oh.
Finding
This
fun.
is a good.
Oh, yeah.
It's very interesting.
So, and the other thing I started working up because I'm sort of brainstorming campaigns. The other thing I started working up was a GURPS Starship Troopers game. Ooh! Because I've reread Starship Troopers since the beginning of the year 4 times. I now know that book cold. I can go watch the movie and say, okay, this character actually never ever dies. This character does this, because I know all of the characters now. I know the entire arc of the entire thing, all the planets, how the ships work, everything that's actually in the book, which is not very much when you're talking about trying to create a setting. But I sat down and I tried to figure out, okay, if you have a party of cap troopers, because you're not going to have a mixed party, because why would you have a guy in powered armor with tactical nuclear weapons and the ship's cook? What the fuck is the ship's cook going to do? So basically they'd be a squad of cap troopers. What kind of missions can I give them that gives them the latitude to actually go out and be adventurers while still being part of a military organization that's very structured? And I came up with 5.
Nice.
So I could run a 5-session campaign, and I'm like, that all stays with consistent within the actual non-Verhoeven Starship Troopers.
Now, you did didn't I feel like you did a poll and people voted for you to run GURPS too.
Yes, yeah. If I do it, I would do that. Definitely do that in GURPS.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're saying it wrong. GURPS. Yeah!
Yeah. There you go.
So yeah, but apparently there's a team of writers that are working on a remake or an actual film adaptation of Starship Troopers.
It needs to be a Netflix series, but regardless.
No, it doesn't. It could totally be a
It's a
film.
long-
It's not. It's not. It's only like about 180-page book. And it doesn't.
Okay.
It goes.
It does.
I mean, when I listen to it in the car, it's like I think it's like a 7-hour audiobook.
Okay.
It's a short audiobook.
Yeah.
So, and it was done a long time ago, and you can
Was.
hear all the edits.
Yeah.
It's like, and then Rico did this, and then
And then he went off maternity.
and like the edits is like they went and found. It's like, oh, we don't have the studio. Let's use this bathroom.
It's that bad.
It sounds like
The
it's
sound-
in a tin can.
The sound,
no.
the contrast from the original recording to the edits is amazing.
All right, I have a couple of takeaways from this. First of all, you should redo the audiobook here in your studio and
I
make
would
sure
love
that it's
to.
really, really good. You have enough voice actors around that you can
would
make
love
this thing
to.
work.
Yeah. It's not
Second
public
is,
domain.
you should maybe make a Moment of Truth thing with powered armor. You
Oh
don't
yeah, I
have a
could
sci-fi
do
setting
that.
yet.
Well, I was that day. I'd scratched the thing. I'm just call it Cat
Yeah.
Troopers or something.
Yeah.
Give it a different name. Yeah.
So I'm just saying. Those are my takeaways from your conversation there.
All right. Finding Fun from Ed in Florida, nay Minnesota. Who would like to read this? I read the first one.
I know, we were here. I heard you do it. I'll do it.
All right.
Well, see, you're mentioned in it, so you might want to.
Dear outrageously unhinged channelers of horrendously effluent bits of aggressive gaming stories. Dare Stork, be happy. First letter of each word, get it?
Oh,
Get
yeah.
it? Right? Yeah, it's
See, I did the homework.
Dear-
I don't get it.
outrageously.
Oh, it's his douchebag.
Happy Easter. Thank you, Kimmy. The Happy Easter, the holiday that should be remembered by locking someone in a dark room for 3 days without food or water, but instead somehow wound up with a bunny. I blame pagan snowflakes. Isn't that the one where Jesus comes out of the tomb and looks out and sees his shadow and he goes back in again because he doesn't want to, and then
Yes,
Vader
and then,
goes
and
like
then
another.
yeah, and then you have
Yeah.
6 more weeks of damnation.
Yes. That's what I thought. But putting that aside, I wanted to send a quick email. It is not too late. I'm only 72 words in. Wait, 76, 77. To let you all know that after moving 1,600 miles across the country, I have created a new gaming group. 3 of my kids, 3 others from the local community. At the local magic/video game shop that was thinking about bringing gaming in, I simply hit up 3 of the closest gaming types of shops, found one that was open to hosting me as long as I buy something on occasion, and have started running a weekly Saturday game from noon to 4.
Excellent.
Well done.
I have had mixed results. With the first games only having my kids, built-in gamers really helped kickstart the group, but by simply sitting down for 4 hours in public to game, we have introduced about half a dozen gamers to D&D and picked up 3 more that join us basically every week. Yeah. The key has been to show up every week and play, and have a general idea about, have a general area prepared for the players to explore. I had 3 major plot lines running, one involving doppelgangers, one involving a wizard researching ruins, and one involving an ongoing fight between a minor demon and devil. I let the players start by hearing about the ruins. They've quickly worked their way into the other stories by simply trying to interact more with the wizard, whom was trying to stay out of their way with the other 2 plot lines. I have striven, that's a word, right?
Yeah.
To keep the game focused
You
on
could
the
say,
players.
I strive to keep,
Yeah.
but that's fine.
I've striven to keep the game focused on the players and making everything they do
You can
important
past
to the
participle
world.
the shit out of everything.
Yeah,
Go
I
on.
do, don't I? Or I will, or I could. Maybe I did.
That's all right.
Is that past?
What?
I have. I haven't? I have. I did. Maybe I did.
I
Oh my
totally
God,
stopped
bleep
listening.
I've striven to keep the
We are on
game
tonight.
focused on the players and making everything they do important in the world. What they chose to do has had an immediate positive effect, and what they don't has had a minor effect. Mm-hmm. It has, I think, helped to make the players feel very important in the world, and that has made the game fun for them, which has made it fun for me. And that's that feedback loop that you start. That's what you hope for, I think, when you're gaming. It's just to get your players engaged. When they're jazzed, you're jazzed, and then it just...
And just it also speaks just to the very basic rule of GMing that the players' decisions have to have consequences.
Yeah.
That's one of the very popular definitions of railroading is when whatever decision you make has no consequences on the world.
sucks.
Right?
Good or bad.
But yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Right? When your character, when the players' decisions have consequences, that makes them showing up meaningful. It's
Thinking
important.
back over the last few sessions, I wonder if the biggest lesson I've learned from Happy Jacks has been that the point of gaming, like the point in life, is to find your fun where you can.
Mm-hmm.
The players want to be important. So by having 3 factors, I have a real world with interconnecting stuff going on. This is what I have fun creating and revealing to the players through their interactions and deductions. And their questions keep the world moving and help me flesh it out as they change it.
That's perfect.
And I really like the fact that he says flesh it out as they change it. Because he sets it up and then
Right.
they change it. And he's cool with that. One of the players in my last game started to try to bring some real-world plate tectonic knowledge into play to understand how a mountain could be by itself in the plains and if it could be volcanically active.
Oh, this is okay though. This is okay.
This turned out to be the highlight of the campaign so far, as it occurred to me that magical theory might change understandings. So I quickly stated that he had read about a theory, he rolled a nat 20 on his magical theory skill, that inside the planet left over from the creation of the world, a war raged between earth and fire elementals responsible for the creation of the planet. Sometimes the war raged close to the surface and the effects of the fighting were seen as fronts spewing lava across the world. The player just stared at me. Then a big grin spread across his face. He took the line up, embellished it. He took the line up and embellished it some for the party as a win-win, and everyone had a good time with it. I'm developing it further as I really like the idea personally, but that one question made the past 6 weeks of work on the game totally worth it. So, what do you Jackers think? Is the point of gaming as simple as finding what makes it fun for you, what makes it fun for others, and working together to tell a story that tries to promote both things? Take a drink and tell me your thoughts. Ed from Minnesota, now in Florida. P.S. If it makes Stork happy, I will try to be more sneaky about my next hidden message. They don't call me Captain Oblivious for no reason. PPS, wait. Wait, is there a hidden message in there?
No.
No,
Wait,
they don't call me Captain Oblivious for no reason.
Wait. I'm looking for a hidden message. Cool. This is a great story. This is what I like to hear. This is why you started this podcast, which is, this is exactly people. You moved 1,600 miles. There's no game. I'm going to start one, and look what's happened.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Well, one of the things, like we're talking about finding your fun. One of the things I enjoy doing is coming up with sort of like jumping off premises for stuff. Like when I came up with it, I said, okay, what would good plot hooks be that stay totally consistent in the Starship Troopers universe? So I came up with the 5 I did, and then I also worked a little bit on some other stuff because I figured, well, I'm going to want this to happen after the battle on Planet P, where they capture the Royal Cast bugs, and so, what's happened since then? Well, let's see. We only know of 3 races, right? There's humans, skinnies, and the bugs. That's it. And the skinnies have sort of been playing both sides against the middle. And so I started trying to figure out, well, what's happened with these 3 species while all of this is going on? What's going on with the Earth Federation? Because that's been a stable government. But now it's at a point where it's at a existential crisis, right? Because now it's not any fighting they've had in the past has been with rival humans, and they're the militaristic society that Heinlein writes about. They're going to stomp the shit out of anyone who's not willing to be as militaristic as they are, because that kind of trumps that shit.
But their military also follows certain rules, and they're suddenly confronted with an enemy that doesn't follow rules, and their tactics are completely
the fact
outmatched.
that Cap Troopers will never leave someone behind if there's a chance they're alive. Well, bugs they'll send 1,000 warrior cast to their death and not even think about it. Right?
Yeah, hive mind. Yeah,
and I'm sure they've never heard of the Geneva Convention either.
Yeah,
right, exactly. Right. Well, and one of the things I started working on is I started saying, okay, well, what? Because we know in the novel, they find a member of the royal cast. Like I think they might call it a brain bug, but I might be conflating that with the film. But they know that there's queens, and that there might be other royal casts as well. So I started coming up with, well, what could the other cast be? What could the social structure of Bug Society really look like? Because we get a little bit of a glimpse of it, but not a lot. So that's some of the stuff that I've been working on to do a short campaign. As far as the skinnies go, nothing about them, and I don't really want to make stuff up out of complete whole cloth. I want to try to sort of just rather fill in holes.
The chat room suggesting that you watch Roughneck Chronicles. It's an animated series for Starship Troopers that adds more to the setting.
Is it Paul Verhoeven-esque, or are they in mechanical suits?
I don't know. It's supposed to be
judgy. Look at his judgy face.
It's a series for Starship Troopers, so I would.
I will check it out, because most of the stuff that's come out for it has been descended from the Verhoeven monstrosity. Which.
Let me say this about the Verhoeven
Not
movie.
Verhoeven, good stuff.
Okay.
Let me say this about the Verhoeven movie. It's the same thing I had about Dune, which is, as awful as they are, my brother, who was not a sci-fi geek or whatever, saw the Dune movie, and there was enough kernels in there that he went and picked up the novels and read them all.
Okay.
And Starship Troopers, there's enough in there that people went back to the source material and read them.
I wish Paul Verhoeven had read it.
I know.
No,
fair
he didn't.
enough.
He bragged about the fact that he never read it.
them.
He had his people read it.
Yes, I know. I get it, but
Welcome to Hollywood.
and it's the same. It's the same kind of take I have on Hellblazer, which, if you'd never read the comics, was still an interesting movie. It's interesting. There's moments, but it's not the comic. Starship Troopers is not Starship Troopers. Hell, The Hobbit.
Well, The Hobbit is
holy shit! Yeah, they turned The Hobbit into
The
this.
Hobbit isn't interesting on its own.
Right.
But
It's a
It's
boring
fine.
ass
It's fine.
epic.
It is a fine book. It'd be a great single movie.
My-
I needed
my-
one.
2 movies.
my mother.
Okay,
who-
I'll take 2. I'll take 2.
My mother, who was a librarian in high schools when Lord of the Rings was first dropped out, she said she couldn't keep them on the shelves.
I bet.
So, and yes, Lord of the Rings is a much superior
And people are
movie.
reading like, oh my god, this guy's long-winded.
So much. No. The Hobbit. It's as a
The
book
Hobbit is a
awesome.
great. The Hobbit's a
Super
great book.
book. But
The rest of them,
the
no.
Hobbit movie is such a giant
Movies.
clusterfuck. No. There's like, oh my
I know.
god. There's
The
so
whole,
much.
the third film was one big fucking fight
Do you know why?
because the book was done.
No, well, yes, but they had 2 movies planned originally, but so many studios owned a part of the Hobbits, and they all got to help cash in on the first. They only get according to their contracts, they had to split the profits off the first movie.
Oh, okay.
So that money they made off the first movie went to like 5 or 6 different studios
That owned
all
IP,
owned a
right.
piece of the IP.
And
So that's why suddenly they're like, oh, let's make 2 more movies because then the main studio got to keep all the profits off of the second 2 movies.
And they also,
Oh, okay.
had a say on what was happening, I'm sure. Well, we own parts of this, so you need to do this. And yeah.
And I just read something. Paul Verhoeven considers Starship Troopers to be his favorite film.
Really? Over RoboCop? RoboCop's a great film.
2 of them for you right there,
There you go.
Paul.
He's
Tell
Dutch,
us how you
though.
really feel, Stu.
Huh?
Tell us how you really feel.
He's Dutch, though, and they have like a whole different look on life. They're very cool, and they were hipsters before the word was even invented.
Hipsters who are illiterate and don't read books.
Well, they're Dutch. Yeah. They're continental. They
That's
just
right.
don't-
If only Heinlein had it translated into Dutch. All right.
Can you turn my mic down while I get up? Thank you.
Oh, you don't have a switch. That's
I don't have
right.
it on this one.
It's off.
Thank you.
All right. Enough about that. Anyway, but yeah, that getting back to what he was saying, that's the fun thing for me is to look at a setting or to create a setting. And like one of the things I'm doing right now is the prep with L5R is I'm starting to work on, okay, what's going to happen next? Where's the story going to go at this point? I'm thinking maybe to the Mantis Islands. So and there's very little about Mantis Islands. I mean, in the 4th edition stuff, there might be in the earlier stuff. So I'm making up a lot of that stuff out of whole cloth. But I'm going to come up with location names and places, and I found all kinds of cool things to sort of throw into their mythos, which I think would be very
awesome.
fun.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things about GMing is when I like prep something, and then the players just take it and just like run with it and make it something completely different than what I thought they might do. But it's so special, and that I think he says it perfectly at the end of his email where he's like, is the point of gaming as simple as finding what makes it fun for you, what makes it fun for others, and working together to tell a story that tries to promote both things? Like, yes.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, yes, and that is an amazing way of describing what ideal gaming should be.
But also kind of piggybacking off that and also kind of flipping it a little bit, one of my favorite things about Interpol X was how Adam took the idea of, because you had you being demonic and Jason being Fae, and making those 2 sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
And that was a brief little thing. He's like, I'm going to explore this. Ended up being a major plot point for the game. And I loved that. He took that little idea you guys gave him and worked it into the main story. It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh, a lot of when you're GMing, that's one of the things that I think a astute GM will pick up is, follow the stuff that your players are interested in. When they start talking about certain things, or they start showing interest in this thing over here rather than what you intended as the major plot point, well, make this thing over here more interesting.
But I also love that
Go that direction.
It became part of the world building.
Right.
It
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
just
Right.
just for the PCs. It was the world works this way because we decided it works this way
Right.
as a group, and that was really cool and interesting.
Yeah, and it started off with just whenever one of us cast magic, the other one was kind of like, ooh, that's gross. Because I didn't like his, I'm a demon. I don't like his live, gross, fey magic. Ew, moss. And he would ooh,
His magic smells like farts.
It does. The fleshy smell, icky.
Yours just smells like burning brimstone.
Yeah, sulfur's
Which
fabulous.
also smells like farts.
Yes.
Not necessarily.
Not the same.
Not necessarily.
And
A
the
little
same
less
thing.
sulfur in it.
So just from us giving each other weird faces when the other one would cast magic and thinking it was gross, came this crazy thing that Adam just kind of picked up on and ran with, which that is so much fun when that happens from players or GMs.
Why does your magic smell like compost?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Demon magic is far
All right.
superior.
Horror story and advice from M in the Twin Cities.
I can do this one.
All right.
Hi, y'all. I have no idea if it's supposed to be read that way, but whatever.
Well, that's from the Twin Cities, which is what?
That's Midwest, Minneapolis, and St. Paul.
and St. Paul. Right.
I do not have those accents. So, hi, y'all. That's what I got.
Who can turn the world on with a smile? Isn't that from the Twin Cities?
No.
Is anybody telling me more from there?
No.
Minnesota?
Oh, let me turn your mic back on.
I know. But that's
Love the podcast and the actual plays. You can look that up while I read. It's such a fun way to sample different systems without a huge commitment. So thanks. I have a horror story / question to run by y'all, so please help a bitch out.
Yeah, you know what? We're all about not commitment. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
All right.
Don't say the C word.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Nice.
Who can take a nothing day, suddenly make it all seem
Some
worthwhile?
of us had to watch it on Nick at Night.
And they didn't actually sing the
Well,
song.
you didn't watch all of it.
No,
They didn't actually sing the song in a Minnesota accent.
Who can? I wouldn't
Yeah,
even know how.
yeah.
Who can turn the world on with a smile?
Good night, everybody.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Start from
That's
top.
amazing. Okay, hi, y'all. Love the podcast and the actual plays. It's such a fun way to sample different systems without a huge commitment, so thanks. I have a horror story / question to run by y'all, so please help a bitch out.
All right.
I started gaming with GMing for our group just about a year ago. This is my first time GMing or playing any RPG, really.
Work.
Nice. And most of our group were new as well. I wasn't really interested in any of the published campaigns out at the time, and I didn't realize what I was getting myself into, so I decided I'd just make up my own campaign with friends. So I can honestly tell you I wasn't that great of a GM. I made a lot of mistakes that y'all talk about all the time on the show. If only I found y'all a few months earlier. That being said, the campaign isn't terrible, and the players are all having fun. I'm a strong believer in yes and.
Let's hear a harumph out of that.
I
Watch
have really tried to let the players dictate where the story goes. There is a plot going on, but I have tried to craft it so that it can take a back seat and be more flavor if the players want to go off and do something completely different. The one exception to this was that a 2-session murder mystery that was designed to introduce a minor villain to play with later on in the campaign. This mini arc was set in a villa cut off by flooding to facilitate the murder. The group was originally there to gather info on the villain, but they were hindered by that when that same villain but they were then hired by that same villain to solve the murder and save the villain's boyfriend, who falsely confessed to the crime. It went fairly well. I was really pleased that the team solved the mystery without me having to drop any additional hints. They even gave the murderer a much more nuanced motive than what I had thought of, so the event was pretty kick-ass. They then decided to murder the minor villain kind of out of the blue.
Murder hobos for the win!
Yep. First of all, I got to say, this is a genius idea, and you pulled it off brilliantly. And then now look what happened. Yep.
A party's going to do what a party's going to do.
They are.
Which is going to be...
They're not wrong.
No.
This is the best way to solve it.
Although maybe not the circumstances.
Maybe, yeah. Oh my god. Okay, so they then decided to murder the minor villain kind of out of the blue right after he proposed to his boyfriend and are now off questing for a MacGuffin while being hunted by a messenger of the god the villain worships.
Oh my god.
So, stuff is happening.
And the villain's boyfriend might now be a little pissed off too.
Right. Maybe.
There you go.
Unless he was trying to marry him for his money, in which case...
Maybe, yeah. Who knows?
No, it doesn't matter.
Did they get to the I do? That's what
Still,
matters. If
it's
not,
nothing that
we
way.
don't
blood.
know, I don't know the rules of this world.
Yeah, that's true.
You've got a great rival going on here. Go
Yes.
skip to
Full
the I
circle.
do. Love, true love.
And white, man and white.
Yeah. Here's the shitty part. One of my players seems to always have a problem about something. One of my players seems to always have a problem about something or other. At first, it was that she didn't have enough chances to do awesome WWE-type stunts in fights. Then she was upset because of how much damage her character took per hit. We kind of messed up the character gen, so her level 1 monk ended up with a 19 AC. Anytime she was actually hit tended to be with a nat 20. Oh, anytime she was actually hit tended to be a nat 20, and with that double damage, she from that she tended to be knocked out in a one hit.
But that means she's still only being hit 5% of the time.
And also,
If that,
if you're rolling that Are you adding the attack bonus for the
Oh,
enemy?
yeah.
Because that would also mean that she'd get hit on stuff higher than less than a 20.
That's true.
All right.
She shit talked the murder mystery game at the table in front of the whole party. She accused me of railroading when I paused the player's attack to ask them if they wanted to do their action in or out of combat for mechanical reasons. It's gotten to the point where I'm so nervous about how she will act each session that I lose sight of the fact the game is supposed to be fun for everyone, including me.
Jesus.
She recently decided she should GM.
Oh, good.
Right? Could not end badly.
I'm going to show you how it's done.
We'll see. Sometimes this is the best learning experience. We'll see.
Oh, no. This
There's a
does
whole
not. This does not
paragraph
strike me.
coming.
No.
This does not strike me as a learner.
If you think the story ends with a happy ending, you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, I did say horror story at the beginning. So, and we should all play Curse of Strahd.
Strahd.
Okay, Curse of Strahd. Now our session for the original campaign are our sessions for the original campaign are only once a month if I'm lucky, and it's moving so slow. On top of that, she gets really frustrated with us as players when we don't do all the right, in quotes.
And she also complained about railroading.
Right things, and find all the cool stuff planned or ask the right questions. I also think she's planning on killing my character a little, which is
A little. She's going to kill her just a little bit.
This is the best part, which isn't so bad, I guess. If you're looking forward to your character dying, there's a bigger problem.
I've been
Do
there.
you mind if I kill your character a
Just
little?
a little bit.
Just a little.
Oh my god. I'm working on a few RP things to have his death be satisfying, but whatever new character I get will then be a few levels behind everyone else's. And I'm worried that I'll just be stuck in a perpetual red shirt kind of situation because she's irritated with me.
Name all your characters Kenny.
I actually think that needs to be a T-shirt. I'm stuck in a perpetual red shirt kind of situation.
Yeah. Do you all have any advice on how, as a GM, I can keep myself focused on this one player, or keep from focusing on this one player, and keep the enjoyment of the group as a whole as my primary focus? Or any ideas for fun, disposable characters for a silly horror game? Thanks for your time and drink. Woo!
Yep.
M from the Twin Cities. P.S. Anyone interested in a PBTA game in the greater Twin Cities area? I got a post on the forums. Come and find me.
Yes, we have a looking for player, looking for group thing on the.
I would like to
And
say
that is
first off,
happyjacks.org/forum.
before we launch into any really in-depth analysis, I laud you for your patience and your perspective on this.
Girl.
You have a great perspective on this. This person is being vindictive and petty and childish, and you still have a great attitude towards it.
I would have chucked a D12 with her head about
is
2
a
months
shithead.
ago.
I'm not sure I have that kind of patience for a person like this. So I really, really laud your adultness.
There's a problem that I see. She's like, her main question is how to not be focused on this person when she's running her game, right? Because this is a very negative person. And I don't know about you guys, because we have Fair's been going on for a while now.
Yeah.
But when I'm out standing on the box and I can see pretty much most of the audience, and I look about, if there's one person in the audience who got dragged there by someone, oh, you got to see these guys, they're awesome, you're going to love this show, and they totally fucking hate it. They're having the shittiest time of their lives.
Do you have, like,
That's
poop
the
face?
one person I'm going to notice in the whole crowd of 200 or 300 people, and then it's going to be like, fuck, and then I think you fixate on it. I don't know. Have you guys ever?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's really hard to avoid. You avoid that by trying to focus on other people, but it's really hard to take your mind. I keep looking back. No. Still.
You're like, that's no.
Still sourpuss. No. They're having fun. Hey, hi.
Yeah.
No, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, you're pushing the bruise at that point. You're
Yeah.
just like,
Right,
that still
yes.
hurts. Still hurts. Still hurts.
Ow.
But I mean, really, all you can do in a situation, and it's going to be even harder if you're sitting around a table and there's 5 of you, and one of them is like, that's gonna weigh heavily on you.
And they're going to actively go and F with you later in their game.
Yeah, that's
And
sucky.
this is one of those situations like, can you get out of playing with this person?
That that was kind of my first thought too when I was reading the email, was because if you're having this much of a cruddy time with this person, there's a good chance your other players probably are too.
Right.
Because if this person's taking so much of your attention, it means nobody else is getting any attention, which means that their fun is being affected.
Oh, yeah.
So you may want to not talk about them behind their back, but you got to talk about them behind their back. Like, get there early, like, just kind of take a poll. Like, how are we feeling about this person? Because here's how I'm feeling. Are you guys having the same issues I'm having? And then maybe as a group, you just kind of be like, what do we?
Well, you don't.
That is a risky proposition because I don't want to say she because I don't know if they actually talked about their gender.
It is.
No,
I did. I think that they're both she's.
Okay, I don't
Yes,
know.
I
I know we know for sure the other one, but they.
I'm pretty sure.
I think it said help a bitch out, but that could be
that
a
could
lot.
be-
No.
Yeah.
The person who wrote the email.
wrote the email. Okay.
Yes.
Well, like that's super difficult, but like teaming up the rest of your friends, because that's the thing is like this is not the situation. I don't think where it's like random gaming people together, where you can have kind of like a we don't know them so well. It sounds like a group of close knit friends, and when you do shit like that, that doesn't stay quiet.
I wouldn't team up.
Yeah.
I wouldn't team up. What I would say, but I think there is wisdom in saying, is this a personal problem between me and this other person, or is this person's being an a-hole, and I need to check with someone. There's got if it's a close knit group of people, there's got to be one person in that group that you know can at least be, what's the word I'm thinking of?
Civil,
discreet.
Yeah, discreet.
And to say, have you noticed that so and so seems to be having a shitty time, and I'm not really sure. What do you and just
Put
kind
it
of
on yourself.
bounce it off of them,
Yeah.
and just to see and reinforce. Okay, is this me or is it them?
Yeah.
Okay, this person. Let's say this person says, no, yeah. That so and so is being an a-hole. Okay, I would not bring it up in
whole
the
group.
group. I would
That's
I
fair.
would bring it up. I would bring it up separately. My guess is, in dealing with people like these and trying to have conversations with people like these, it's not going to go well.
Oh,
No.
But you might as well try, because there's always the chance that the person's going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was being that much of an a-hole." That has happened. That has happened to me.
Yeah.
Where I've gone up to someone and I said, "Look, this is what's happening," and da-da-da-da-da-da, and they're like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. I should probably apologize to some people." That's like 1 out of 10 times.
right.
Yeah.
But it does happen, and sometimes that will fix it. Usually not permanently, but for a while, and then it's like, okay, to go back to being a good person again. Okay, and then, but I think it's worth at least having that conversation with them
Yeah.
and saying, "You're ruining my fun." Don't phrase it that way.
Don't
I'm
phrase it
paraphrasing.
that
No,
way.
no.
Don't do that.
I'm paraphrasing. I'm cutting to the.
Yeah.
To
the wick, yeah.
the chase here, but to sit down with him and say, "Hey, look, you don't seem to be having fun in my game, and I've talked to some other people and they are having fun. Is it me? Why is it that? What is it
that's
I'm
a better way to
doing?
phrase it.
What is it that I'm doing that is making you not have fun?
Yeah.
And then talk, and maybe you'll get some information, and maybe you might all of a sudden go, "No, I've had problems with blah 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 and this and that and da da da, and I'm under a lot of pressure, blah 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 blah." And who knows? You might just and here's my whole life right in front of you,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, okay, well I can understand. I would be an asshole too if I'd been going through what you've been going through." But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But
I think the
Emma's
first-
very understanding, so she might actually take that big view, that long view.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first thing you need to do is go through and fix mechanically their character.
Yes.
Like that is an honest gripe. Like, hey, my character is built wrong. You
it's
should
not
fix
working
that.
the way I thought it was going to work.
Yeah,
Like, yeah,
like-
and that's easily workable. And again, if anything, they're going to get hit more if you add the attack bonus, but at least it won't be crits all the time.
Right.
For the WWE stuff, let them do that kind of stuff, but give them higher difficulty ratings. Like it's simple things you can go and just kind of step by step and figure that stuff out if that's what's really bothering them. But I think there's more underlying than just that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's what I was going to say, which is people like this, and I've had experiences with this, they bring a lot to the table, and it's a lot of baggage from home life, relationships, work, whatever, and they bring it to the table and they act out at the table. And it's more, you can't, all you can do is put a Band-Aid on and address their behavior at the table, but you're not going to fix their life unless you really want to go into a full-on therapy
Oh,
session.
no. No.
Because that's the crux of the biscuit there, is their fucked up life. and they're acting out at the table, and it's coming to a head.
I feel like we were also like projecting a little bit. We don't actually know anything about this.
No,
story.
no,
we have
you
to
don't.
remember too that these are new players. So a lot of them are coming to the table thinking they're going to be.
This does not sound like a new player.
That's
This
what they
sound-
said.
Yeah,
at the
they're
beginning
all
of the email.
new.
They're all
They're
new
all more or
players.
less new.
This sounds like someone who saw Glow
okay,
and
then-
wanted to come and be like an amazing superhero and is frustrated with the mechanics.
You mean Glow isn't Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling?
Yeah. Because they talk about how they want
Like
the character
WWE
wanted to do
type
amazing
stunts.
WWE stuff.
And it looks like she's playing a monk, which would make sense for that kind
Yeah,
of
like
fighting.
it feels like they have a vision in their head that the mechanics are not meeting. So,
Right.
and especially when you're playing D&D, like that's going to happen.
Especially
So,
at lower levels.
Yeah,
Like, you're going to have in your head, like, I want to be a level 12 and do all these, like, well, you can when you're level 12.
Right.
Right now we're level 1, so
I find it very unlikely that a brand new player is going to say, "You're GMing wrong. Let me show you how it's done."
No.
Maybe,
I mean,
but
especially if they're a group of friends who are learning together, because that's what happened. This is a brand new GM with a
Maybe.
bunch of brand new
Okay.
players, so they're all learning and reading it together. I mean, I think that's the case, and especially
I think we're going to get a follow-up email saying,
Maybe.
No, this is one person's actually been role-playing for a long time.
maybe, but that's not in the email. They said
No,
that
you're right.
everybody's new.
Yes, you're right.
And it does sound like, they can't do WWE stuff. That's something that I've run into a lot with new players, especially with D&D. They have this idea that they're going to be this hero.
But you totally can. There's a table somewhere that says if you're going to do any sort of improvised attack or anything that's off the
well,
the
I
books,
think the issue may
this
not
is how
be
you do it.
yeah, but
that they can't do it, is that they're not succeeding at doing it.
Yeah.
I
It's
think
not
that's,
super effective.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it sounds like there's a little bit of a disconnect. One of the things I'd suggest doing is, you're interested in PBTA, do a PBTA one-shot.
Right.
And see if that fits more, the style more. Do masks, something crazy where they can be heroes, where they basically can narrate however they want it to be and then roll, and then see if this person's having more fun with that. Because if there's someone who wants to, be that WWE hero and do crazy flips and land on the bad guy, I rolled a 5. Like, that can be, in PBTA, that's not it's horrible, it's not great, but it could be interesting at least. That I could see a new player running up against mechanics and being frustrated with that because they can't be, like, what they wanted to be.
I don't think Will actually is going to be a fan of PBT games. I'm just throwing that out there.
No, maybe not, yeah.
From her
Try something totally different
Yeah.
and
Right.
see if it fits better.
from her behavior, she talks about how she was really upset when she wasn't able to do awesome things, and now that she's GMing, she's really upset that the players aren't following her very well thought out
Right.
clues.
This sounds like it's someone who hasn't GM'd since the 70s.
If they GM'd it all, and they
I don't think they
definitely
have
have a
done
script.
anything. No, she says specifically. They say
Yeah.
specifically.
The entire group?
The entire
Yeah,
group. She's
where
like,
was it? I
was
totally
the
remember
only
that.
GM.
But that's not my point. My point is that you can't necessarily fix this. This is an endemic problem where she's really has written a script, like how her character is going to be and what she wants her character to do, how
There it
her
is.
game is going to be, what she wants her game to do, how the players are going to behave in the game. I think that what we're stumbling upon is the fact that has a really hard time with the ever-changing, evolving, collaborative storytelling part of this. She wants to be the center of
Absolutely.
attention, and
Kinda-
everything needs to happen her
Kind of
way.
sounds like she's more of an author than a GM.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you sure this wasn't the previous email?
No, it's right here.
Where?
This is my first time GMing or playing any RPG really, and most of our group were new as well.
Most.
Okay, maybe.
Okay.
See,
Most.
this sounds
Most is an operative word.
right, but this
I
sounds
will.
just like
I'm
the
going to
brand
die
new
on this
player.
hill now.
I know you will.
This is the one player
Okay.
who's going to tell everyone how to play role-playing games right.
Maybe. Yep.
Here's how you win D&D. That's what you've
Oy.
got.
Maybe. See, I mean,
Most.
I can't wait for the follow-up email to see which one is right. To me, this
Right.
sounds like the brand new player who doesn't realize this isn't
$5.
Okay, $5. This sounds like a brand new player who doesn't realize this isn't a movie that is planned out ahead of time where they can do the coolest things ever.
Possibly.
Because I've played with very recently. I've played with brand new players in D&D who were like this, and they had how they wanted their character to be.
D&D is a terrible game to introduce people to role-playing
Right.
games.
100%.
And yet we still do it. I
know.
We
Yeah.
recommend it.
But it's the
Well,
no, we don't recommend it.
But that's the one game people have heard of.
Right.
Yeah. But I like, and the person I played with got upset when my character didn't react to their character the way they wanted it to. And they wanted their character to, have this effect on everybody around them. And usually when people are brand new to role-playing games, they play like their ideal self, if they could be the perfect thing.
Right.
So if
I've
this
definitely
person...
never done that.
I don't know. But, we all kind of start there.
Yeah.
So if this person's doing that, which, at least to my reading, it seems that, like, she's created her perfect self, and her perfect self isn't awesome, like, I can see her getting frustrated and be like, well, you must not be doing this right because I heard this is cool. Or they watch Critical Role and are like, everybody on Critical Role is perfect all the time and having so much fun, you're doing this wrong. Which is the other thing that's sort of starting to happen with new players in the community.
Watching Critical Role learn how to play role-playing games is like watching porn to learn how to have sex.
That is a very
That's
good
a
analogy.
really great analogy. I'm going to slow clap that, and somebody make a T-shirt.
I was so ill prepared for that analogy.
Really?
That's what it is.
I was not ready for it. I wasn't ready. I was ill prepared for that jelly.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably great-looking
accurate.
people.
Super accurate.
Yeah, okay.
That was very Happy Jackson of us.
I know.
All right. Anyway, so I can't wait to hear the follow-up about
And
that.
yeah, you got to settle our bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
M from the Twin Cities, if
Yes.
that's your real
Yeah.
name.
It's going to take a year and a half.
But yeah, I mean, and feel free, like, be like upfront with them and like, hey, if you're not having fun, let's not force this issue.
Right.
Like, you can not play in my game, and I can, I'll play in your game still if you want to. I don't know why you would, but
And it brings up an interesting point. I've said it before,
Since
but
you want to kill my character a little.
all the time.
I've said it before, but it brings, it bears bringing up. A lot of people don't know that that's not how you should play a role-playing game, which is being, the things
Winning.
aren't on railroads. Is that the right way? Is that the wrong way?
It's not right or wrong. I mean, it depends what you're playing.
Well,
If you're-
Sue brought up a really kind of funny point that she knows it's wrong because she gets mad when she's playing when she's playing as a PC and she thinks the GM is railroading.
She did say
And
the
then-
term railroading,
right.
Oh, that's true.
which does mean that she knows some knowledge. She has
Ah,
some knowledge.
there you go.
Okay, but this is also from the
Double or nothing?
No.
But
She knows the lingo.
But my point is, I know many people that play very railroady games and they have a great time and they don't know any different.
Yeah.
Right, sure.
I mean, it's like Plato's Perfect Forms, where you're in a cave and you're being
Well,
shown
it's
a
like-
certain
it's-
thing, and you're like, "Oh, this is great," and they don't realize that there's so much
D&D is
more.
really good at like the sort of tactical level of combat too, and if you enjoy that, it's like the GMs and you can have an adversarial GM, and if you dig that kind almost like playing a tabletop war game,
Yeah.
That's what D&D
you can have
was.
a fantastic time doing that.
Yeah, D&D was an incarnation of
Chainmail. Right,
yeah.
So it
came out of
very
war
much
game.
has that.
But you could also have people that are afraid of things that are new and actually like role playing. Role playing does put you out on a limb. It's one more
sure.
thing. It's really easy to hide behind the randomness of dice and move your little miniature around, and then with the dice fall that happened. Okay, it's cool. It's another thing to have an in-depth discussion about tactics or emotions or whether or not who's going to go in first. In a roll than it is to just roll the dice. And that can make a lot of people uncomfortable. I mean, I've heard that the number one fear most people have is speaking in public. And when you're role-playing, it's almost that. You're sitting in front of a bunch of people, pretending to be somebody you're not, taking a stand and saying something that is part of your character that you may or may not believe in. You're basically making a speech to a bunch of people. You're acting in front of a bunch of people, and that can be really awkward to people.
The number one fear is speaking in public, not being beheaded.
Yes.
Well, because what's the actual chance you're going to I beheaded? It's like very
Did I
low.
say that? Did I say beheaded?
No.
No.
It was his
I
weird
was
non
just
sequitur
thinking.
thing.
I was thinking of things that would be scarier than speaking in public.
Well, I think it would be scarier, but the fear of it is so that like the chances of that actually happening are so low. It's not something.
It's
you
like
worry
being
about.
buried alive. Like, I'm sure buried alive is much scarier than speaking in
worst.
public. But
What?
how often am I
That's why
going
you
to...
have that little bell with the thing.
Right, just in case. we rolled.
I'm
we
paying
ste-
extra for
I
that
steamrolled
shit.
over Joey. I had a point.
Sorry.
I wanted
Oh, no,
to
you're
get out.
fine. No, I was going to say, you brought up a good point that speaking in public is very much role-playing. And also, it's role-playing is basically a game of choices. Anytime you make a choice, you're putting yourself out on that limb.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
And there's always that fear of, am I making the wrong choice?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Am I,
well said.
by
That's even
saying
better,
this,
yeah.
by making my character do this, it's closing off certain things, and you feel really, it's vulnerable.
But then when you get into like party interplay stuff, then all those rules are off the table.
Right.
And you start talking about like player, character to character interactions.
Right,
and
because
stuff
you may
like
have
that.
made a choice that makes
There's
your
no
players-
rules now.
Right.
Now it's just the two characters are going to talk, and one of them's trying to convince the other one of something,
But my point is, I think a lot of people find that not fun
or scary,
or scary.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or
'Cause-
both.
or I went combat. When are we going to roll initiative?
Right. You lose. Right.
well,
I
that,
like
yeah,
my
that's,
gold and XP.
that's a whole thing. Because there's
stop
no
talking
rules
to
for
my
social
experience
combat
points.
in D&D. And so that, when you're starting just in D&D, that's very scary because there's no rules for it. Same thing with losing. like failing rolls. And making the failure be fun for role playing.
Yeah.
Because I know, again, my background was D&D for the longest time, and I was always afraid of failing because failing was bad. But now, having played some PBTA, some Savage War, like failing is awesome. Failing makes really cool things happen, and then
regular failures in D&D happen pretty frequently,
Right.
And regular failures are boring.
right.
Critical failures are interesting.
But they used to get glossed over.
Right.
They used to get
It's like, oh, you missed.
die fudges, or you
You
missed,
miss.
or there's no consequences.
Exactly. Yawn.
Or you have the DM who wants to be a little more drastic, and you missed. Actually, you dropped your weapon, and now you have to spend action to pick up your weapon.
But I better roll a 1 if I'm going to drop my.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So perhaps, coming back to the email, this is a person that
sorry.
really just wants to follow more of the
sorry.
dice rolling and have a combat, rather than explore the idiosyncrasies of their character and their place in society, which is fine. That is a type of game. That's a way to play D&D, but they may not mesh with what's going on with the party. Yes.
I have another idea. All right.
Yes.
A
theory?
No, not a theory, but like another idea. Like in the same vein as my run a one shot. Run a one shot in D&D where they're like super high level. Be prepared for a super long
Oh,
combat.
like 10th level or higher.
Yeah, and see if this person is happier. And see if they feel cooler, like being super powered, having a badass combat where they can just dominate everything.
Do like a premonition flashback
Yeah,
thing and
or
have
something.
them level their characters up really high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then this person gets a chance to see, like, oh, this is what my character will be when we put work
Right.
into it. See if they're any happier about it.
Right.
Because maybe they just shouldn't be a monk. Like, there's also times where I've picked
Yeah.
a character class and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And they're like, oh, God, I hate everything about this. I want to die.
Not every monk is Jackie
I don't want to
Chan.
be a warden.
I don't want I want a sword and shield. Give me it back.
You wanted to make Jackie Chan, you made Kwai Kane
Yeah.
Shane.
Right.
So
From
so
Kung
try
Fu.
that and see what that does with this person.
Right.
And you don't, even if you don't want to, like, you can tie it in if they're into that. I think that's a really cool idea since you've got Whiny McWinerson in your group. You know,
Whiny McWinerson.
yeah, you may not want to do that. Maybe you just say, hey, I'm going to do a one shot with super cool characters and high power. Like, then it's like something separate, so they're not going to get all Judgy McJuggerson.
Wait a minute,
Judgy
she's got a lot of
Did
nicknames
you say
now.
Judgy or Juggy McJuggerson?
I said Judgy,
She said Judgy
and then
McJuggerson.
McJuggerson. She can. I don't know. Maybe. I should.
This, you know what? And this occurs to me now that you've said that. It may have just boiled down to
suggestions.
that they need to be the center of attention all the time.
You said that already.
Could be.
I
You
may
forgot.
have touched on it, but I don't think I actually said it
No,
and
you
drilled the
said
point
they
in.
needed to be the center of attention.
Because, well, I may
It's a
have,
good-
I may have
it's a
touched
good
on it.
point,
Because everything that they're doing brings everything back to them all the time. And they're disrupting the entire game so that it's on them all the time.
That's most players, though.
Yeah.
Like, we're lucky. Like, we have very spotlight adjacent, like, friends who are like, be the star,
Right.
Joey, go, yeah, I'm helping you, boost.
Yeah.
But there's like a lot of players who haven't mastered that yet, or haven't quite realized how magic that can be.
And especially in D&D, where you're only getting to act once a round. The rounds are taking half an hour to get around.
Yeah.
You want every time you get to do something to succeed or be cool. And like,
Yeah.
I missed. Cool. I'm going to get a beer.
Totally supports what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah. No, 100% with the long combat in D&D. That can get super frustrating when like every half hour. Oh, all right, half an hour until I get to do something again, and
Right.
hopefully it's cool.
That's terrible.
That's a really good point.
All right.
I
Are we
think
done?
it's good.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a good.
Thank you for the email, M from Twin Cities,
Yes.
if that is your initial.
And write back and tell us which one of us
Yes.
is right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh.
Like, is this off your new album?
This is the title song.
This song is
I'm going to throw my hat in the air. It's going to be great.
But freeze.
Yeah. I totally got it. Mary Tyler Moore, for those of you millennials out there, one of the greatest shows ever.
So funny.
It's so
And
good.
a strong
Ted
woman
Knight.
in lead, in charge, back in the day. I mean, and it's Mary Tyler
No,
Moore.
there's a lot of issues.
Yeah.
There are,
But
but they
she
actually
always-
hit on a lot of those
Yeah.
issues.
they did.
Yeah, her whole relationship with Lou. Like that
Oh, yeah.
whole, yeah.
And Mary Tyler Moore, just, I think it was, God, what's his name? The director or whatever. He called her the thinking man's playmate because she's very smart, very charismatic. And does that sound demeaning? Because I actually thought it was a really cool kind of phrase, which is Mary Tyler Moore was this wonderful, empowered woman. for people that are smart.
For the 70s.
For the
For the
70s.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is definitely a symptom of its time.
It's
Yeah,
a period
well,
piece.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Period
is
piece.
now.
It's, we're talking mid 70s here. You can't
yeah.
escape it. Even the fashion. It's right.
Come on,
Yeah.
Betty White in that show,
Right?
Is
Betty White is
everything.
awesome.
Everything
Yes.
in that show.
Well, so is Cloris Leachman.
Well, yeah.
Is that Cloris Leachman?
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy shit, I didn't realize it was Cloris Leachman.
Yeah.
Whose codename B in the chat room says downtown Minneapolis has a Mary Tyler Moore statue?
Do they really?
Throwing her hat
She
up.
was
Yeah,
like
please
this?
tell me the hat is up in the air.
Maybe not.
Do you have both arms up, like Rocky?
Rocky,
What-
yeah, I got that.
There's a really cool moment where Oprah Winfrey was really inspired by the show. And so she plays that little thing she talks about, and then Mary Tyler Moore. She did a recreation of it where she walked through all the swings and doors, and then Mary Tyler Moore walked out. And you watch Oprah, who's usually pretty cool, lose her shit.
Oh, no kidding.
She just loses it and is weeping openly. And Mary's like, "Whoa, hey, cool, right?" But that show is really influential.
Oh,
on a
yeah.
lot of people.
I
It's
totally see
very
that being
empowering.
influential for Oprah. Absolutely.
It's worth checking out. It's kind of it's like a 3-minute clip of her just losing her shit. When
Oh, have any of you seen the Lost in Space series on Netflix?
No, but I want to.
really? Is it? Have you?
I've heard it's good.
I loved it.
I've heard it's
I
good.
loved it.
Come on, it can't be any worse than the movie with Matt LeBlanc. It cannot be worse than that.
But it can't be any better, can it? I mean,
It's awesome. First off, the robot doesn't belong to them. They find him on the planet.
Well, that's
Yeah, that's cool.
He's of alien manufacture.
Yeah, I
and
liked
you
that
find that out in
twist.
the first 5 or 10 minutes. I'm not giving anything
well,
away.
it's in the ad. Like when you watch the trailer.
Oh, I
for it,
never
it's
saw
there.
the trailer.
Like I only
So-
watched the trailer and I know that.
So they don't even fucking know what the robot is, and that remains basically through the whole season.
well, that's fun.
And then what's her name? Parker
Posey.
Parker Posey is Dr. Smith.
Yes,
And
yes.
she's, oh my God, you hate her so much.
Parker Posey is one of my favorite
Oh,
actresses.
she's phenomenal.
I mean,
Best in show. Come on.
New Main Street Singers.
Yeah.
She plays mandolin.
Yeah.
Whitney Guffman. Come on, guys.
She was also a
She works
vampire.
the DQ.
Yeah. She's,
Come on down, get you a Coke.
She's a remarkable actress.
Oh yeah,
and very
she's
unrecognizable.
awesome in that too.
Yeah.
And she plays a great.
She's
psychopath.
great in Blade too.
Great
too, when she
psychopath.
plays a vampire.
I never saw. I don't know if I've seen saw.
It's one with Jessica
know-
Biel with the arrows. It's
Oh.
actually really. It's Parker Posey.
I'm
She's great.
surprised I'd missed something with Jessica Biel's. But anyway, all right.
Put it on the to-do list.
All right.
Oh shit, where is it? All right, here we go. No, yeah. Yeah!
GURPS?
Thank you for joining us for season 21, episode 16 of Happy Chicks RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
I'm still Kimmy.
I'm Joey.
We wandered really far afield today.
That's okay. That's
I
fine.
blame
we actually
myself.
sit pretty good on topic today. I'm actually
I
proud
think so.
of us.
Yeah, I'm snoring.
Fine. See you next week at 7 p.m. Pacific time on Friday, and then we got Demigods on Sunday. and we
Tomorrow
have
is One Shot Saturday.
One Shot Saturday tomorrow.
Oh my God, there's so much stuff happening.
And Bogfest if you happen to be local.
And then Monster Hearts on Monday!
Hey, Monster Hearts is starting.
Thank you very much. We'll do the song.
So much to
Dungeons and Dragons, Hero Pathfinder, Fate or Savage Lands, evil plans will be usurping, though we could do with less burping. Happy Jack's podcast will be douchebag song. Here's the beacon, light is flaming, with its tongues of fire proclaiming. Sheathed and sundered to your shaming, strongly now unite. At the call, all Afron rallies, war cries rend her hills and valleys. Troop on troop with headlong sallies, hurtle to the fight. Chiefs lie dead and Chiefs lie dead and yet where first was rounded, where first was rounded, freedom's holds the crag, her trumpet still is sounded. There we keep her banners flying, while the pale lips of the dying echo to our shouts defying. Harlech for the right.
preceding program has been a presentation of the Angry Folk Media Empire.
Bum, 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 bum.